Our next speaker is also from the Department of Computer Science. Laleh Jalali is a PhD student with Professor Ramesh Jain, and Laleh works on some very interesting topics. She looking at building these large-scale sensor-based event systems for applications in healthcare. And so she's going to tell us a little bit about that today. Some background about Laleh: she grew up in Iran. She did her bachelor's and master's in Tehran. And as a side note, Laleh has another connection at UCI. Her older sister was a PhD student here. She was one of my PhD students, and I'm sure Layla had something to do with Laleh's coming over here. And so now Laleh is about to get to her next phase of her PhD very soon, and she's going to tell us a little bit about, you got a second master's after you came here?
Yes.
Along the way?
Actually, it's really interesting. My sister, she looks like me a lot. So when I entered DBH like 5 years ago, everyone actually you
Yes.
you as well. They kind of mistaken us, me from her, she from me.
So did Layla change a little bit?
And it was a good experience because she is pretty and she's tall, so it was not bad. And when I was doing my master's in Iran, I remember that Layla was here and she was doing her. Oh, my pocket is small. Yeah. And she was doing her PhD here. I know that Erwan is really, really good city compared to Tehran when I was. But I didn't know how cool it was until one day she had a camera and she went all the way from home on campus to the university and she took a small video. And she sent the video to me. Of course, it was amazing. That day was raining and I saw DBH for the first time in the video and I said, I want to go there. So, of course, she was a good student and she took one course with Professor Jain. And she took my resume to Professor Jain. And Ramesh, until today, he always says that, your sister told me you are as bright as hers, so I took you. But apparently she was lying. Of course he's joking. I don't want to believe that he's joking. But anyway, this is how I get to UCI. So when I came here, I was a little bit confused about what I want to work on. Of course, I tried different fields. For a while, I was working on ontological user modeling. I didn't like it that much, so I changed my field, my research in my second year. So one of the really cool stuff about computer science is that you can definitely find something that you're passionate about. And I'm really happy that today I found something that really matters to me. It's really fulfilling, and I know that it really helps people to change their lives for better. So I have some really nice presentation, and hopefully you can go through that. Okay. This is the flow of my talk. First, I will give you some brief overview what are the bigger projects going on in our lab. Then I will point out to the components that I'm working on and 2 applications that currently I'm focusing on. Social life networks. What is social life network? There are lots of information, as Laleh mentioned, Internet of Things, lots of data coming from different sensors, either related to the environment, temperature, pollution, pollen, all the things that are going on in the social network, or they are coming from human-centered sensors, like the wearable devices, the applications that we have on our phone. How we can make sense of all of this data and really help people in some challenging problems like healthcare, like disaster management. So this is our vision. Once we recognize what is happening at the global level, the top part, and we combine that with what is happening at the personal level with the person, then we can connect the need of the person to the resources available and create these cool recommendation engines that are evolving and they can send useful recommendation to the user. So the framework that I started working on is I have all these data streams, and what I want to realize is that in this pool of data, what event causes the other one, or what set of events causes another effect. We all have some this causal mentality in our everyday life. When something happens, we try to think what causes this. So how we can apply this kind of mentality in this platform? So I'm working on a high-level language that an analyst can come to the system. So I'm developing this high-level language that an analyst can come to the system and create these what I call causal patterns. So they can investigate their data incrementally. There is nothing like there in statistical analysis or machine learning. And whenever they don't have any idea what is going on with their data, we have some really cool visual operators that they can use to explore their data visually. So this is a kind of dashboard of the system. Some students, undergraduate students in UI design class help us in designing this. And you can see that there is this handful of operators that an analyst can use, interact with the system, create a hypothesis, evaluate the hypothesis, and create the causal models. Applications. The first application that I studied was asthma management. You know that in US, 23 million Americans are suffering from asthma. At best, asthma is really unpleasant because the symptoms are unpleasant, and at worst, it's fatal. And it has a huge financial burden on society and on families that has an asthmatic. So what I try to study is that we have all this information like meteorological factors, temperature, rainfall, pollution. We want to see that when asthma outbreak happens in a society, what is the interrelation between all these factors and how they are interrelated temporally that they cause this outbreak. So we create some causal rules that can combine different factors, and once we have this causal rule, once we look at the real-time data, if something going on, we can alert asthmatic patient that, hey, you shouldn't go out today, or don't forget to take your inhaler because something dangerous might come up. The next application is analyzing the stress in pregnant women. Actually, this application, how I get into that, it's really cool. When I first started developing this framework, because it needs lots of specific kind of events, which I call semi-interval events. And there is no data set like that they can use. So I published my first paper with some synthesized data. No, I didn't publish, I wrote my first paper. And the reviews wasn't that good. Of course, the paper was rejected. And they told me that, why are you applying this on some toy problem? You should apply it on real applications. And I didn't have data at that time. And I'm so passionate about healthcare applications. So I thought that, what can I do? I put my name on top of this paper that wasn't published with my advisor. And we went to this UCI Medical Center to talk with doctors there. And said that this is the framework that we have. Do you have any data that we can analyze? And I got some really, really good feedbacks from them. They said that this is really what we want. What you do is really amazing. And of course, I was really happy after that rejection. So, and they gave us lots of data related to this pregnant woman. So these amazing doctors, they spend a lot of money and collect data in Pittsburgh and Irvine from this pregnant woman in all these 3 phases of their pregnancy. This data is really rich. It has lots of survey questions, how the woman feels, who are they interacting with, how they feel in terms of their pregnancy symptoms, if they're stressed or not. And apart from that, it has lots of sensory data. So this is a chart for cortisol hormone, that they get this cortisol hormone when they wake up, 30 minutes after they wake up, at 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and before they go to sleep. They have other data as well, like their activity. They were wearing this accelerometer for the course of 4 days. And they have their heart rate, respiration rate. And what they were interested in understanding was that how their interaction, how their daily life increase their stress, and what is the effect of the stress in the health of the child or the baby that's going to be born. So, and this is the study that I'm already working on. We don't have any results yet, so this is a work in progress. One other thing that I want to mention is that it doesn't matter if for your research you're working on a small problem or big problem. Because in our backend system, for example, we use what my friend Karen, she described about asterisks, and in our backend we use asterisks. So it really doesn't matter if your research is big or small. It always matters because someone else can build on top of that and they can use that. And be sure, and I want you to be sure that it will be used somewhere, someday, and it will benefit people, and it's really fulfilling. So yeah, go to PhD.